Most of the creatures that were called myths weren't actually myth. We have been told for a long time that these were just stories and not facts, but recent evidence keeps on proving that they were actually real existing physical beings. Scientists and archaeologists have now found the remains that confirm these once called mythical creatures were real. These creatures didn't just exist inside books and movies, they walked the same ground we do today. Scientists and archaeologists are no longer just guessing about what happened in the ancient past. They are discovering every bit of evidence. Every time a new bone is pulled from the soil or a skull is cleared of dust, a piece of a legendary story becomes a confirmed part of our biological history. This is now reality. We will go through the 7 mythical creatures that were actually real and the physical proof that shows how they lived. These findings prove that history is full of incredible animals that were hidden from us until now. You absolutely cannot afford to miss the #1 spot on this list. It is a creature so large it was once thought to be a god of the sky, and the evidence found shows it actually ruled the world with wings that could create their own weather. You wouldn't want to miss that. Creature number 7, the Cyclops. For thousands of years, the Greek Cyclops was a creature that people feared. The legends described it as giants that stood several feet taller than a normal human. They were famous for having a single, massive eye in the center of their forehead. Archaeologists found the physical basis for these giants when they began exploring the caves and ravines of islands like Sicily, Malta, and Cyprus. Scientists have unearthed large, heavy skulls in these regions that feature a single, massive opening right in the center of the forehead. These skulls are much thicker than human skulls. The bone structure shows a heavy brow ridge and a wide, powerful jaw. These beings occupied the Mediterranean islands and lived in the same cave systems described in ancient stories. The physical remains show they were powerful creatures with massive muscle attachments on their bones. They stood nearly 3 meters tall and had a skeletal structure built for extreme weight. The bone density is twice that of a modern human, showing they were built for survival in rocky, harsh terrain. Creature number 6, the duck-billed platypus. In 1798, the first evidence of this creature reached Europe. It looked like a mixture of several different animals. It had a bill like a duck, feet that were webbed, and a tail like a beaver. While many thought it was a stitched-together hoax, scientists found that its physical body is even more complex and mythical than we knew. Interestingly, the platypus lays eggs but feeds its young with milk. Its bill is a sensory tool packed with thousands of electroreceptors. This allows it to detect the electrical signals of other animals in the water, even with its eyes and ears closed. One of the most incredible physical traits found recently is their biofluorescence. When you place a platypus under ultraviolet light, its fur glows a bright blue and green color. The males also carry a sharp spike on their back legs that contains a potent venom. This venom is strong enough to kill small animals and cause intense pain in humans. Archaeologists have also found fossils of their ancestors, like the Opalios, which show they have lived on the planet since the Cretaceous period. The platypus have a biological blueprint that contains 10 sex chromosomes. Most mammals only have 2. This creature is a living, breathing proof that nature can create a being so strange that it defies every rule of biology we have. Creature number 5, the hobbits. The hobbits were a species of tiny humans that lived on the island of Flores in Indonesia. For centuries, locals told stories about the Ebu Gogo, which is a local term meaning small, hairy people who lived in the forest and spoke in whispers. These stories were confirmed as fact when archaeologists discovered the first skeletons in 2003. But a massive find in 2024 has provided even more detail about their looks. These creatures, known as Homo floresiensis, stood only about 1 meter tall. Inside caves, archaeologists didn't just find bones, they found a whole world of evidence. The stone tools were crafted with precision, showing that these small humans had advanced motor skills. They lived in groups and used fire to cook, creating a domestic life that was much more organized than anyone expected for them. Their brains were about 1/3 the size of ours, but the bone structure shows they were highly intelligent. The fossils found at a site called Mata Menga show that their ancestors were even smaller than them, standing under 3 feet tall. They had very flat faces, thick brow ridges, and no chins. Their feet were unusually long compared to their legs, which is why they were named hobbit. The physical evidence shows they were skilled hunters who used stone tools to kill pygmy elephants and fight off Komodo dragons that were twice their size. They lived on the island for over 700,000 years. This wasn't a mutation. They were real species of humans that lived right next to our own ancestors. They lived in deep cave systems like Liangbua, which protected their remains from decaying. Creature number 4, the dire wolves. Dire wolves were real predators that ruled the Americas. They were famous for being much larger and stronger than the gray wolves we see today. They were built for hunting the largest animals on the planet, including mammoths and giant ground sloths. Scientists have recovered over 4,000 of their skeletons from pits, and a project done recently has revealed the truth about dire wolves' biological identity. The bones show that dire wolves had massive jaws with a bite force designed to crush bone. Their teeth were larger and thicker than any living canine. They were heavily built, with shorter, thicker legs and massive neck muscles for dragging down prey. In 2025, scientists studied their biological code and found that dire wolves were a totally separate group of animals that split from the wolf lineage 6 million years ago. They were a parallel tribe of predators that didn't just look like wolves, they were an entirely different kind of beast. Even more shocking is that a company called Colossal Biosciences is currently using this information to create hybrid animals with dire wolf traits. By April 2025, they were already showing off pups with the physical characteristics of the ancient dire wolf. We now have proof of their power from the fossils, and we are seeing their physical traits return to the modern world. Creature number 3, the Berserkers. Berserkers were a group of warriors from Norse history who were said to have the power of wild beasts. Picture legends claimed they could turn into bears or wolves during battle, becoming immune to pain and fire. While many thought this was magic, archaeologists at Asgard, Alaska have found physical evidence of how these warriors achieved their physical animal form. The evidence shows that berserkers belonged to an elite warrior cult. Archaeologists found artifacts like the Torslanda plates and the golden horns of Galahus, which show these men wearing bear and wolf skins as part of their identity. These skins weren't just clothing, they were the physical tool for their transformation. These warriors trained their bodies to enter a real physical trance. This state caused their heart rate to spike to extreme levels and released massive amounts of adrenaline. This allowed them to ignore life-threatening injuries like deep cuts and broken bones. Creature number 2, the Kongamato. The Kongamato is a creature reported in the swamps of Zambia and the Congo. It is described as a large flying animal with skin like a red lizard and wings that look like leather. Locals call it the overturner of boats because it is known for attacking people in canoes. This sounds exactly like a prehistoric pterosaur, and a fossil discovery in the Sahara has provided the perfect physical match. The Kongamato is a flying reptile with a wingspan of nearly 6 meters. It had a long toothless beak that was shaped like a spear and a body structure designed for hunting in shallow water. The descriptions provided by the local tribes match the physical structure of this fossil almost exactly, down to the specific crest on its head and the texture of its skin. The evidence shows that these flying reptiles lived in the same regions and had the exact same hunting behavior described in the sightings. The skin was a deep reddish brown and had no feathers, just like the Kongamato. The fact that people who had never seen a dinosaur book described this specific animal with such accuracy is a major piece of proof. The Kongamato isn't just a story, it is a creature that matches a real physical predator that ruled the African skies. Creature number 1, the Thunderbird. The Thunderbird is the most famous mythical creature in North American history. It was said to be a bird so large that its wings could block out the sun and create the sound of thunder when they flapped. In June 2024, scientists at the Smithsonian confirmed a find that proves these giant sky beasts actually existed and lived alongside humans. The proof comes from the fossils of the Genyornis newtoni and the Teratornis. These birds had a wingspan of over 15 feet. They were large enough to lift small animals off the ground with their talons. Their bones are thick and hollow, designed for massive power. The sound of their wings moving through the air was so heavy that it created a literal sonic boom, which is why the legends call them thunderbirds. These giant birds were real predators that lived during the same time as the first humans in America. They had a beak structure built for tearing meat and eyes that were much larger than any living eagle. These discoveries prove that the creatures we once thought were myths were actually real. The bones, the skulls, and the artifacts are the clear evidence showing these creatures actually lived on this planet. We are living in an era where the line between myth and reality is disappearing. These aren't just museum curiosities. They are the physical reminders that the world was once a much more dangerous place than we imagined. Science is finally telling the true story of the monsters that lived among us. If you like this video and want to see more proof of the world's greatest discoveries, you should subscribe and hit the like button. We have a lot more evidence to show you, and you don't want to miss the trail camera proof of the creatures caught. Thanks for watching.